Excellency the President is just about to walk in. Please rise to receive His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, and entourage. Will remain standing for the national anthem. Please take your seats. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokono, Her Ladyship Justice Mariama Owusu of the Supreme Court of Ghana, the Chair of the Local Organizing Committee for this conference, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We'll start with an opening prayer. May I respectfully call on Her Ladyship Justice Margaret Welburn, retired Court of Appeal Judge.
Shall we please rise? Father God, we want to thank you for a beautiful day like this. We thank you for the love that we share as judges, particularly all around the world, and this regional conference that we are about to begin. Father, send your Holy Spirit to be with us as we deliberate on important matters. At the end of the day, it's only honor and glory give unto you. Give us the wisdom, give us the knowledge, and give us the love. We thank you for answered prayer. Amen.
Thank you very much, Her Ladyship Justice Margaret Welburn. May I respectfully acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Godfred Yeboah-Dame. May I also respectfully acknowledge the presence of the Executive Director of the Iawj, Madam Christy Jones. Thank you. We'll now have the welcome and roll call of nations by the President of the Iawj Ghana Chapter, Justice Her Ladyship Justice Rita Agyemang-Budu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Justice Gertrude Saki-Tokono. Justices of the Superior Courts of Judicature in Ghana and across Africa. justices of the lower courts in Ghana and across Africa. Her Ladyship, Justice Mariama Owusu, Chairperson of the Local Organizing Committee. Ms. Christy Jones, Executive Director of International Association of Women Judges. Distinguished delegates, honorable judges, and esteemed participants. I am honored to welcome you to Ghana and to this historic conference on the theme, Combating Negative Cultural Practices in Africa, the Role of Women Judges. On behalf of the people of Ghana and the organizers of this conference, I extend a warm akwaba welcome to each and every one of you. We are thrilled to host this important gathering, and we are grateful for your presence. Your participation is a testament to the importance of this issue and the impact that women judges have in shaping the legal landscape and promoting gender equality. As you come from various countries across Africa, you bring with you diverse experiences, perspectives, and expertise. This conference offers a unique opportunity for us to come together, share our knowledge, and learn from each other's experiences. We hope that over the next few days, we will engage in fruitful and impactful deliberations that will shape the future of our continent. We will explore ways to address the harmful cultural practices that perpetuate inequality, violence, and discrimination against women and girls. We will discuss strategies empowering women and girls and for promoting their rights and dignity. Ghana as a whole, as a nation, is committed to upholding the rights and dignity of all individuals, particularly women and girls. We recognize the critical role that women judges play in shaping the legal landscape and promoting gender equality. This conference is a testament in our commitment to this cause. We have made significant progress in recent years, but we acknowledge that there is still much work to be done. We look forward to learning from your experiences and expertise. And to sharing our own knowledge and best practices with you. As we deliberate, we hope that you will draw inspiration from the rich cultural heritage of Ghana and the resilience of our people. We hope that you will leave here with renewed energy, new ideas, and strengthened resolve to combat negative cultural practices and promote justice and equality for all. During your stay, we hope you will also take time to experience the warm hospitality of the Ghanaian people and to explore the beauty and rich history of our nation. From the vibrant markets of Ghana to the ancient slave forts of the coast, there is much to see. Once again, welcome to Ghana. We are glad you are here, and we look forward to the outcomes of this deliberation. Together, we can create a brighter future for Africa's women and girls. Thank you, and God bless us all. And now, it is my honor, my singular honor, to call the roll of nations. Please, as soon as your nation, your country is called, then you wave your flag. So I'll start in alphabetical order. Benin. Benin. You'll be upstanding. Delegates from Benin, be upstanding and wave your flags. Botswana. La Côte d'Ivoire. Gambia. Gambia. Ghana. Kenya. Nigeria. Senegal. Sierra Leone. South Africa. The last but not the least, Tanzania. And United States of America. Uganda. You are all very welcome to Ghana. May we all have a very fruitful conference. They are not here. Is a representative from UK here? United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Her Ladyship Justice Rita Ajimangbudu, for the welcome and the roll call of nations. Can we give her a round of applause, please? Thank you. May I respectfully and with the greatest privilege invite the Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, as by law established, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono.
Your Excellency, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Ladyship Justice Mariama Owusu, Justice of the Supreme Court and President of the Local Organizing Committee for this conference, Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Justice Binta Nyakun, President of the IAWJ, Executive Director of the IAWJ, Ms. Christy Jones, Honorable Justice Rolly Harriman, Regional Director, IAWJ, West and South Africa, Honorable Justice Henrietta Wolanyo, Regional Director, IAWJ, Central and East Africa, Her Ladyship Justice Rita Ajimangbudu, President, IAWJ, Ghana, Presidents of the various chapters herein present, distinguished members of the Local Organizing Committee, and may I recognize Justice Victor Jones Doche Akotobonku, who is always with us. In Ghana, a man among women is Kotobonku. My Lord, thank you very much for all you do. It is with great pleasure that I welcome all delegates to Accra for the 18th Africa Regional Conference of the International Association of Women Judges. We are very honored to have you here with us. Preparing for you has been a labor of love, and the judiciary of Ghana is absolutely grateful to the Local Organizing Committee for the sacrifices and services that have made today possible. Please be assured that everything has been done to make the conference and your stay a pleasant and memorable experience. Thank you and welcome. We are especially grateful to His Excellency the President for the strong support we have received from the Office of the President. The culmination of this support is the presence of His Excellency with us this morning, who will be officially opening this conference. His Excellency is a lawyer and champion of justice, and his name is definitely etched in the legal history of this country as a most distinguished legal practitioner. His belief in the rule of law has been evident during his tenure as president, and the Judicial Service of Ghana has been a happy beneficiary of exceptional levels of physical and technological infrastructure during this period. Your Excellency, we are grateful. I also thank the International Association of Women Judges of Africa for granting Ghana the hosting rights for this year 2024. It is a duty that we welcomed with joy, and our greatest hope is that we are able to provide a platform for a robust exchange of ideas that will spur change and innovation in our various jurisdictions after we leave here, using the force of law to combat negative cultural practices and our role as women judges as forces for change. During this conference, we believe that we will have the chance to learn, grow, and become better apprised with the goal of ensuring that women and children and the vulnerable in our individual societies can be assured of justice whenever sociological norms and community cultures clash with the law. This is the goal at the core of IAWJ as an association. While we expect this week to be one of learning and sharing, I'm particularly looking forward to the conviviality, building, and strengthening of bonds that will definitely occur. In the last few months and weeks, I've had the intense pleasure of meeting and bonding with sister judges from Abuja, Banjul, and Liberia. And I recognize some of you here this morning. Thank you so much. While you are here, I must commend to you the many attractions of Ghana. For nature lovers, Ghana is a land of lakes, rivers, lagoons, hills, and waterfalls. For food lovers, there's a palate rejuvenating buffet of vegetables, fruits, rice dishes, corn dishes, meats, fish, and bean dishes. We have extraordinary sauces, soups, and blends of carbohydrate harvest. And of course, there's the music, fashion, kaleidoscope of fabrics, theater, and the simple joy of peace. Accra is a soul-stirring capital that many of us call home, in which we work, and I invite you to soak it all in while you are here. I wish the Africa chapter of IAWJ a most successful conference. Thank you again for coming, and Akwaba.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono. Can we give her another round of applause, please? May I now, with the greatest honor and privilege, invite the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to open the conference.
Chief Justice, Attorney General, Justices of the Supreme Court, and other Justices of the Superior Court of Judicature, active and retired, judges, members of the Judicial Council, Judicial Secretary, President of the International Association of Women Law Judges, the President of the local chapter of the International Association of Women Judges, the Executive Director of the International Association of Women Judges, the Chairperson of the local organizing committee of the conference, regional directors, judges, West and South Africa and Central and East Africa, members of the Ghana Bar Association and other distinguished lawyers, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I thank Ghana's Chief Justice, Mrs. Justice Gertrude Tokono, for the invitation to deliver this address at this all-important gathering. I know very well that when the Chief Justice sends an invitation, it is less of an RSVP and more of "you shall not pass this up." Even the President knows that you cannot say no to the fourth highest official in the land and the head of the judiciary. Nonetheless, I'm delighted to be in the midst of women judges and distinguished delegates at the Africa Regional Conference of the International Association of Women Judges, which is being held in Accra, the vibrant capital of Ghana, a city with a well-deserved reputation for its warmth and hospitality. Akwaba, as you know by now, is our word of welcome to those of you who come from beyond our shores, and I hope you enjoy your stay with us. I must at the outset pay tribute to this association, the International Association of Women Judges, which has been pivotal in helping to shape judiciaries across the globe for some 30 years. Since its inception, it has worked diligently to promote the participation of women in the judiciary, which is crucial for reflecting the diversity of the societies they serve. For me, this is not just an association. It is a vital force for good in our world because its members enhance the quality of justice, support the professional growth of women in the judiciary, and advocate for fairness and gender equality. Ghana is proud to host such distinguished members of this remarkable organization here today. And we look forward to the continued success and influence of the International Association of Women Judges in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, the presence of women at all levels of the judicial system not only enhances the perspective within the judiciary, but also strengthens public confidence in the justice delivery system. I know this because I had the honor of appointing, since becoming president in 2017, many women to all the various levels of our judicial ladder, including two to the highest office, that of Chief Justice, of which the most recent is the current Chief Justice, Mrs. Justice Gertrude Tokono. Women judges can represent the spirit of justice and the enduring promise of equality within our judiciary. They can bring unique insights and life experiences to the bench, enriching the interpretation and application of the law. This conference, under the critical theme, Combating Negative Cultural Practices in Contemporary Times, the Role of Women Judges, highlights pressing issues and also shines a light on the path forward through judicial engagement and innovation. We gather here as witnesses to the transformative power of law and justice. As a former private legal practitioner and then as Attorney General, I've always believed in the law as a dynamic instrument of change, one that should protect the inherent dignity of every individual. In Ghana, our commitment to the rule of law is steadfast. It is one that transcends political ideologies and administrations, for it is the bedrock of our democracy and the guardian of our freedoms. The rule of law means that everyone, from the ordinary citizen to the highest official of the land, is subject to the same laws. That is the true meaning of the concept of equality before the law. It is essential in fostering a climate of fairness, predictability, and stability, which are critical for the functioning of a healthy, progressive society. As we turn our collective focus towards eradicating negative cultural practices that have long hindered progress, especially among women and girls, the role of women judges becomes undeniably pivotal. Women judges across Africa and the globe bring unique viewpoints and strengths to the judiciary. Their experiences, often mirroring the societal challenges we seek to overcome, equip them uniquely to advocate for justice and fairness. In dealing with issues like gender-based violence, child marriage, outmoded widowhood rights, and female genital mutilation, practices steep in deep-rooted cultural norms, your voices and rulings can resonate deeply, driving societal transformation. In Ghana, we have made strides in promoting gender equality through legal reforms and societal education. However, the eradication of detrimental cultural practices requires relentless effort and strong dedication. Indeed, successive governments have undertaken several initiatives to combat negative cultural practices affecting women and girls. These efforts span legal reforms, educational programs, and community engagement strategies. We have implemented and enforced laws aimed at protecting women and girls from harmful practices. For instance, the Domestic Violence Act of 2007, Act 732, the preparation of which was initiated during my time as Attorney General, provides protection against domestic abuse, including traditional practices that harm women and girls. The Human Trafficking Act of 2005, Act 694, whose preparation also began during my time as Attorney General, is another crucial legislation aimed at combating human trafficking, which disproportionately affects women and girls. Ghana has outlawed female genital mutilation, the harmful practice inflicted on girls, which is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Government has not only legislated against this practice, but also works with local communities and leaders to enforce this ban effectively. In collaboration with non-governmental organizations, government continues to conduct awareness campaigns to educate the public about the dangers of negative cultural practices like child marriage, outdated widowhood rights, gender-based violence, and female genital mutilation. These campaigns are aimed at changing societal attitudes and norms that perpetuate these practices. Our progress on this front is significantly attributed to the increasing presence of women in the judicial system. Their expertise and empathetic adjudication have consistently reinforced the protective framework for women and children. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of today's conference calls on each of us, especially our women judges, to leverage our collective legal acumen to dismantle barriers to justice. Negative cultural practices are not just an affront to the victims, but are also a blemish on our collective human conscience. As judges and upholders of the law, you have the power to redefine norms and set precedents that protect the vulnerable and marginalized. It is imperative to acknowledge that the fight against these practices is not confined to the courtrooms. Education, awareness, and collaborative governance are critical. We must engage traditional leaders, educators, and communities to recalibrate mindsets and attitudes. It is in our schools, homes, and community gatherings where the foundational beliefs of our next generation are formed. Here lies the strategic importance of holistic approaches that include legal repercussions as well as preventative measures through education and community engagement. Moreover, the government of Ghana is committed to supporting the judiciary in every way necessary to ensure that justice is not only served, but also seen to be served. We're determined to improve judicial infrastructure, providing resources and ensuring the safety and security of judges who often face risks in the line of their duties. Indeed, since my assumption of office in 2017, my government has made unprecedented progress in the provision of court buildings and residences for judges around the country. In 2020, we set out to construct 100 courthouses with residential facilities nationwide. As of February 2024, 79 courthouses have been successfully inaugurated and are in use at various sites around the country. The remaining 21 projects are at various stages of completion and are expected to be completed and inaugurated soon, at least before I leave office. In addition, 121 residential units have been constructed for judges throughout the country. Further, 20 fully furnished 4-bedroom units, together with social amenities, have been constructed for justices of the Court of Appeal in Kumasi, Ghana's second city. The project is not yet complete, but I can say we have done enough to try to address the perennial problem of insufficient court infrastructure in Ghana. To our women judges, I say to you, let your judgments echo the principles of fairness, equality, and justice. Let them be a beacon for those in the shadows of fear and oppression. Remember, each decision you make not only affects the individual in your courtroom, but also sets a tone for what we as a society deem acceptable. As we look towards the future, let us envision a continent where the law does not only punish, but also educates and reforms. A future where our daughters will be judged, not by their compliance with outmoded customs, but by their potential to lead and innovate. In this grand vision, women judges stand not just as enforcers of the law, but also as architects of societal change. In conclusion, this conference is more than a congregation of legal minds. It is a forge for future progress. Here in Accra, let us renew our commitment to justice, to gender equality, and to the eradication of all forms of negative cultural practices. Together, with your wisdom, courage, and judicial prowess, we can redefine the contours of African society to reflect our highest ideals. May God bless the International Association of Women Judges and us all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make her great and strong. It is thus my great pleasure and honor to declare this conference officially open. I wish you full attention.
Declaring the conference open. At this point, we'll have a musical interlude. And members of the High Table will take a photograph with His Excellency the President. Rise as His Excellency the President leaves us. Thank you. We'll have a musical interlude. kindly take your seats. Thank you. We'll continue the program. We now have addresses. We'll start on our program. We have an address by the Honorable Justice Binta Nyako. I understand she cannot be with us today. Is there a representative who will read her address? Thank you.
Good morning, my lady, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Gertrude Saki Tokono, the President of the International Association of Women Judges, Christy Jones, the Executive Secretary, Honorable Justice Walayo, the Regional Director for East and Central Africa, my Lord, the Supreme Court judges here, especially Miriam Owusu, and my Lord Honorable Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, and the other Supreme Court judges here present, my Lords, the Justices of the Court of Appeal, the Attorney General of the Federation, my Lords, sisters, worshipful magistrates, ladies and gentlemen. I have to apologize for the absence of the President of the International Association of Women Judges. She missed her connecting flight to Accra yesterday. So I'm apologizing on her behalf, and she sent me her speech to read to welcome you all. And it goes like this. It is with great honor and privilege that I stand before you today as the President of the International Association of Women Judges. In this pivotal moment in history, our role as advocates for justice and equality has never been more crucial. As women judges, we carry the responsibility of upholding the principles of fairness, impartiality, and the rule of law. We understand the importance of diversity on the bench and the profound impact it has on the administration of justice. In many parts of the world, women still face significant barriers in accessing justice, whether it be due to cultural norms, discriminatory laws, or systemic biases. As leaders in our respective judiciaries, it is incumbent upon us to challenge these obstacles and strive for a more inclusive and equitable legal system. Together, we must continue to promote the empowerment of women in the legal profession, advocate for gender-sensitive judicial reforms, and support initiatives that enhance access to justice for all. By working collaboratively and leveraging on our collective expertise, we can effectuate positive change and create a more just and equitable world for future generations. In closing, let us reaffirm our commitment to the principles of equality, fairness, and justice. Let us stand in solidarity with women judges around the globe, united in our pursuit of a more equitable legal system. Together, we can make a difference. See you in South Africa next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Rolly Harriman, Regional Director of the IAWJ West and South Africa. Thank you. May I respectfully call on Ms. Christy Jones, the Executive Director of IAWJ. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Good morning, Chief Justice and all the Chief Justices in the room, as well as all of the members of the judiciary and other dignitaries, I stand before you without prepared remarks for several reasons. One, it's very difficult to follow the remarks of His Excellency the President standing at the podium, so I'm not going to try to repeat anything that he said, and I'm certainly not going to try to repeat the wonderful words of Her Lady, the Chief Justice, or for that matter, Justice Binta Nyako, who I have the deepest respect and love for. So I am simply here as the Executive Director of the International Association of Women Judges to just say greetings and hello from all of the Executive Office staff. As you know, in my role as Executive Director, I am here to serve you. I am here to support your associations in the tremendous work that you're doing, as well as to support your members on an individual basis. And it is my delight and my honor to do so. As a woman of African descent, I cannot tell you how proud I am to stand in this room right now with all of these beautiful African women showing the world how it's done on a daily basis. So I bow to you. I bow to your expertise, I bow to your power, I bow to your beauty. I am deeply honored to just be in your company. So thank you for having me, and it is an honor and pleasure for me to be here in Accra, Ghana. I have never been to Western Africa before. I've had the opportunity to visit Southern Africa as we're preparing for next year's biennial conference in Cape Town, which I know every single one of you will be at. And of course, I extend an invitation to Her Ladyship. But this is just a phenomenal experience. I only arrived yesterday after attending the Asia Regional Conference in Cebu, the Philippines. So they also wish to extend greetings to you as they wrapped up their conference last week. So again, I'm going to step away from the podium and allow the more astute members of the panel to continue, but thank you. I am deeply grateful and honored to be your Executive Director, and have a wonderful conference. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ms. Christy Jones, the Executive Director of the IAWJ.
Thank you.
May I respectfully now call on the Honorable Justice Henrietta Wolanyo, Regional Director, IAWJ Central and East Africa. I may have slipped. I think I should have called Honorable Justice Rolly Harriman, Regional Director, IAWJ Western South Africa, to give her own address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My Lord, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, my Lords, worshipful magistrates, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. As the Africa Regional Director of the International Association of Women Judges, it is an honor to join IAWJ Ghana chapter to welcome you all to Accra. Our continent is rich in diversity, culture, history, but we also face unique challenges in the pursuit of justice and equality. In many parts of Africa, women continue to encounter significant barriers to accessing justice, whether it be due to cultural norms, discriminatory laws, or inadequate resources. As women judges, we have a vital role to play in addressing these challenges and advocating for the rights of women and marginalized communities. We must work tirelessly to ensure that our legal systems are inclusive, fair, and responsive to the needs of individuals, regardless of gender, race, or socioeconomic status. This requires not only a commitment to upholding the rule of law, but also a dedication to promoting gender equality and human rights. As leaders in the judiciary, we have a responsibility to lead by example and inspire positive change within our legal systems. By fostering collaboration, sharing best practices, and advocating for judicial reforms, we can create a more just and equitable society for all Africans. So let us reaffirm our commitment to the principles of justice, equality, and human rights. Let us continue to work tirelessly to advance the cause of women's rights and empower future generations by mentoring, by empowering them, women leaders in the legal profession. Your role as a woman judge in Africa is pivotal. Your special wisdom, integrity, and courage do shape the legal landscape and society's perception of justice. And your commitment to fairness and equality inspires generations yet unborn. Keep leading with grace and strength, for your impact reverberates far beyond the courtroom. We shall continue to make a difference inside and outside our courts. Since our last meeting in Morocco, Lady Walayo and I have been working hard to ensure we build a strong and viable African region of the International Association. This is with the support of Dr. Mata Gayoya, a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, Keele University School of Law in Staffordshire in the UK. She is on course to provide digital and logistical infrastructure capacity to the IAWJ Africa. Dr. Mata is also leading a group of researchers from Nigeria and Uganda on the topic, Women Judges as Agents of Social Change. Let us all give our support to these research facilitators. We count on your cooperation and advice on all issues to make the regional association stronger. We ask that you also assist in connecting the Secretariat to all member states who are not represented here today. I wish all of us fruitful deliberation and see you in South Africa next year. May that say. And Eshe Nagodi Dalu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Rowley Harriman. May I respectfully now call on Honorable Justice Henrietta Walayo, Regional Director, IAWJ Central and East Africa. My lady, the Honorable Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Gertrude Saki To Kono, the Executive Director, IAWJ, Christy Jones, Rowley Harriman, the Justice Rowley Harriman, the Regional Director, Western South Africa, my learned sisters and brothers from the courts of judicature across Africa, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On the occasion of the 18th IAWJ Africa Region Conference, I, on my own behalf and in my capacity as IAWJ Regional Director for Eastern Central Africa, extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you to the iconic and historic city of Accra, Akabwa. My ladies, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for gracing us with your presence at this conference. I also sincerely appreciate my lady, the Honorable Lady Justice Mariam Owusu, Chair the Local Organizing Committee, together with IAWJ Ghana chapter led by Honorable Lady Justice Rita Budu, for organizing this biennial conference. I am confident that our forthcoming deliberations over the next 3 days will be both enlightening and productive. Allow me to reflect on our previous gathering in October 22 in Kampala, where we convened the 17th edition of this conference under the theme, Women Judges Breaking Barriers to Equal Justice and Building Strong Institutions. My ladies, during this 18th edition of the IAWJ Africa Region Conference, we have convened under the equally important theme of eradicating negative
cultural practices in contemporary times and the pivotal role that women judges have in this endeavor. We should be encouraged by the fact that our deliberations are not merely an academic exercise, but an avenue for meaningful change, as our interpretation and application of laws is a powerful tool in challenging negative cultural practices. I look forward to leveraging our diverse cultural backgrounds to understand negative cultural practices on a broader scale, and also listening to the various distinguished speakers on potential approaches to the problem at hand. So before I end my remarks, my sister Justice Rory has already recognized Martha, Dr. Martha Gayoye. You're welcome to the conference. I also, in a special way, want to recognize the presence of my sisters from East and Central Africa, whom I represent on the IAWJ Board of Directors, that is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Botswana. Our Zambian sisters send their apologies. They were unable to attend, but they're here with us in spirit. Once again, I express my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you, as well as our most gracious hosts, Ghana IAWJ chapter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Henrietta Wolayo, Regional Director, IAWJ Central and East Africa. Can we give all the speakers a round of applause, please? Thank you very much. At this point, may I respectfully call on the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Godfrey Yeboadame, to give his remarks.
Good morning. The Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, as by law established, Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana and other superior courts of judicature, the chairperson of the local organizing committee of this conference, the executive director and members of the Association of International Women Judges, the president of the local chapter of Association of Women Judges, and the judicial secretary, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, I'm pleased to be called upon to deliver this short goodwill message. But I must agree with Ms. Christy Jones that indeed it's a tall order speaking after the president. His command of legal issues and oratory are simply impeccable. But I have prepared a speech, and I'm determined to read it. I begin by conveying my felicitations to the organizers of this event for the excellent preparations made so far. I'd like to welcome you warmly to the beautiful city of Accra, capital of Ghana. Affectionately christened the Black Star of Africa, Ghana has been at the forefront of the quest for democracy, good governance, and generally the rule of law in Africa. And you definitely could not have had a better home away from home for the hosting of a conference like this. Socio-culturally too, Accra has a very vibrant and dynamic life, which I'm sure you will take time to explore in the period of your stay. And I'm told the Chief Justice and the Judicial Secretary have the full lowdown of all the fascinating places in Accra for an awesome nightlife in Accra. I bet you'll be left spellbound. Distinguished guests, it's certainly a happy coincidence that this conference is being held at a time when the whole world is caught in the euphoria of celebrations of motherhood. It would thus be very neglectful on my part if I do not wish all the women in this room a happy Mother's Day. Even though this wish, coming a day after the official celebration, may appear belated, the abiding love of women and unrivaled dedication to the growth of the child has been a source of strength to every society and has also been responsible for binding every family together like glue. This conference is truly unique as it brings under one roof the top women in the administration of justice and those whose voices and actions matter in the judicial systems in most African countries. A gathering of women judges from around Africa symbolizes the hopes and diversity of society. As Africans, the fabric of our society has largely depended on the cherished values and principles that are inculcated into us by the special breed of people we call mothers. I'm therefore very happy to be amongst you today. It goes without saying that when women are more involved in the administration of justice, quality, fairness, efficiency, and honesty can be better assured. Drawing on the experience of Ghana, evidence has shown that an enhanced participation of women in serious affairs of state leads to reduced corruption. I noted at a high-level panel discussion at the 10th session of the Conference of State Parties to the United Nations Convention Against Corruption in Atlanta, United States of America in December 2023, that research has shown that in Ghana, women are less susceptible to corruption than men. And indeed, the authority for this proposition is a result of the first corruption survey on people's experiences in Ghana, conducted in 2021 by the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, CHARJ, and the Ghana Statistical Service, with technical assistance from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, conducted with a sample size of 15,000 respondents from across Ghana. A distinct feature of the survey was the finding that in Ghana, women are less susceptible to corruption than their male counterparts, and that male public officials are twice more likely to solicit bribes than their female counterparts. And in fact, the reality, in my respectful view, is that men actually are 3 or 4 times more likely, not twice, to take bribes than women. There is thus a practical imperative for the empowerment of women as a mechanism for transformation of public institutions, injection of productivity, and the elimination of corruption in Ghana. Relatively, Ghana is one country where we see a greater participation by women in the processes for justice delivery. As a person who heads a ministry, the Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice, which shows representation of over 90% women amongst all state attorneys across the country, I can attest to the serenity, efficiency, and the virtual minimization of corruption in the Office of the Attorney General. In point of fact, hardly is the Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice listed among the most corrupt state institutions in Ghana, at least since I have been there. And I attribute this phenomenon to the abiding commitment of state attorneys who are over 90% women to the maintenance of high ethical standards. In the judiciary, it is remarkable that when women have been given the opportunity to lead, efficiency has been the hallmark. We have witnessed this with the appointment of 3 women out of the 4 Chief Justices Ghana has had since 2008. The organizers of this forum therefore deserve utmost commendation for putting the event together. And I find the area of matters that can be captured under the theme chosen for this conference, and I quote, combating negative cultural practices in contemporary times, the role of women judges, end of quote, very important to the elimination of discrimination against women and the promotion of human rights generally. The strides made by Ghana in the elimination of cultural practices which negatively affect women cannot go without comment. The practice of female genital mutilation has been criminalized in Ghana by Section 69A of the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960 at 29. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has developed guidelines for engaging traditional authorities to address sexual and gender-based violence, harmful cultural practices such as trochasy and female genital mutilation, as well as gender inequality in Ghana. There have been rules designed for religious and traditional leaders regarding reporting on these issues. There are continuous sensitization programs embarked upon by some state institutions such as the Domestic Violence and Victims Support Unit to the Ghana Police Service, DOSU, Department of Social Welfare in Ghana, and the Ghana Health Service on harmful cultural practices and other discriminatory practices against women. Distinguished guests, the major factor inhibiting the progress of women in Ghana is, with all respect, sexual exploitation. Efforts have been made to protect children, particularly the girl child, from sexual exploitation and abuse. The Criminal Code Amendment Act of 1998 at 554 criminalizes a range of sexual offenses against children, ranging from indecent assault to unnatural carnage and defilement. In spite of this, issues relating to sexual exploitation of women continue to be a major impediment to the rise of the woman globally. In this regard, it was with a sense of pride that Ghana was compelled to sponsor a resolution which was successfully carried at the recently concluded UN Conference Against Corruption in Atlanta, December, which I have just alluded to, which resolution was to declare that demanding sex or acts of a sexual nature within the context of the abuse of authority is a particular form of corruption called sex corruption. Sex corruption, it is noted, is perpetrated against women in the workplace and constitutes one form of a subtle and modern negative cultural practice existing in many African countries. The most significant development in the life of the Ghanaian woman in a long time, in my humble view, will be achieved through the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill. This bill, which will have a far-reaching effect on the leveling out of inequalities existing, especially in the public sector, has undergone a second reading in Parliament, and I'm hopeful it will be passed in the lifetime of this Parliament before January 2025. Distinguished guests, your presence here is a reminder of the value of collaboration amongst ourselves as women judges. The progress of the African woman in not only the legal field but on all terrains will depend on the continuous trust the citizenry repose in you judges. Adjudicating on all cases involving all kinds of interests, from the vulnerable in society to the mighty and the global commercial giant, you are integral to administration of justice in the world, since you are the dispensers of justice itself. As women judges, we will continue to suffer from the bias, prejudice, and discrimination in society. However, by remaining true to your respective oaths and regular collaboration, you can conquer the deeply entrenched vile preconceptions and misconceptions against you. I wish you a very fruitful week as we deliberate the important topics lined up and listen to the rich insight of distinguished and accomplished speakers from around the world gathered here. Thank you very much. God bless us all.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Honorable Godfrey Yeboah-Dame. Can we give him another round of applause, please? Thank you very much. I understand the president of the Women's Forum for the Ghana Bar Association unfortunately could not be with us. So this brings us to the end of the opening ceremony. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. We'll now take some photographs. So we'll start with the dignitaries on the dais, and whilst that picture is being taken, we'll have a drone fly over to take a shot of all of us. Then we'll do country by country. I'll call the countries to come up and take pictures with the dignitaries. So we'll start with the dignitaries on the dais. So we'll start with this, and then we'll call the members of the LOC. Can I also call Honorable Justice Henrietta Wolayo to join us? Can we have the drone take the shot as well? back to plenary session 2. During this session, we'll have the keynote address. The moderator for this session is Honorable Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun, Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and the President of the Nigerian Association of Women Judges. Please let's give her a better round of applause. Thank you, my lady. You're welcome. May I respectfully invite the Honorable Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun to introduce the speaker for plenary session 2. Thank you.
My Lord, the Lady Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, my Lord Justice of the Supreme Court, my lords, my ladies, distinguished delegates, the keynote address for this first plenary session is to be delivered by no other than Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono. Well, we have seen Her Ladyship all day, or at least the first half of the day, but many of us don't know the stuff of which she's made. And so I will read Her Ladyship's profile so that we know who we will be listening to today. And I also want to seize this opportunity on behalf of all of us to thank you most sincerely for the warm reception we have enjoyed since we have arrived in Ghana. Thank you very much. The Honorable Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Sake Tokono became the 15th Chief Justice of Nigeria became the 15th Chief Justice of Ghana on the 12th of June 2023. And from my own little research, Her Ladyship is the 3rd female Chief Justice of Ghana. With a judicial career spanning nearly 20 years, Chief Justice Tokono was among the pioneering justices of the Commercial Division in the High Court. She has actively contributed to the reform agenda and initiatives of the Judiciary and Judicial Service of Ghana since 2005. She has served as a faculty and board member of the Judicial Training Institute, Vice Chair of the Internship and Clerkship Committee, Chair of the E-Justice Oversight Commission, Chair of the Editorial Committee of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Supervising Judge for the commercial courts in the country, and Law Reform Commissioner. She was elevated to the Court of Appeal in the year 2012 and to the Supreme Court in December 2019 after going through parliamentary screening. Chief Justice Tokono attended Wesley Girls High School, where she earned her ordinary level certificate, and at Chimota School, where she earned her advanced level certificate. She holds a bachelor's degree in law and sociology from the University of Ghana and graduated from the Ghana School of Law in 1986. In 2001, she obtained a postgraduate diploma in International Law and Organization, ILOD, from the Institute of Social Studies, ISS, now Erasmus University in the Netherlands. She also has an LLM in intellectual property law from Golden Gate University in the United States. Chief Justice Tokono began her legal career as a pupil at Fuga & Co., a premier law firm in Accra. After her pupillage, she became an associate and later a director of the firm. Chief Justice Tokono also volunteered with FIDA, Legal Aid Service and interned with Nabarro Northern in London as part of an IBA scholarship in the early years of her career. In January 1997, she co-founded Social Law Consult, where she served as managing partner until May 14, 2004, when she was appointed a Justice of the High Court of Ghana. Outside of her career, Chief Justice Seke Tokono is a passionate minister in the body of Christ. She plays a key role in Aglo International and has served as a board member in Theovision International, a ministry that has translated the Bible into African languages for more than 25 years. For many years, she has had the privilege of serving as a faculty member of Haggai Institute, a world-class leadership institute based in Hawaii and Thailand, which helps in the development of leadership skills for godly marketplace leaders. Chief Justice Senke is the founder of Wishing Well Institute for Leadership Development. She is an enthusiastic poet and playwright. Her published works of poetry are The Child and the Rainbow, 2012, The Wise Still Hear the Birds, 2012. She is also the author of Doing Business in Ghana and Legislative Watch. She is married to Francis Tokono, and together they have 4 daughters. She is also grandma to 3 lovely grandchildren. Your Ladyships, distinguished delegates, having read this very impressive profile, I believe that no better person could be the person to deliver the keynote address which is on the topic, combating negative cultural practices in contemporary times, the role of women judges. I know that for many of us here, we have either experienced these negative cultural practices personally or through people close to us, or such matters have come before us as judges. It's also a befitting topic to set the tone for the entire discussions that we'll be having over the next few days. I think you will agree with me that Her Ladyship is indeed a role model that we are all very impressed with, we look up to, and we will definitely benefit a lot from this keynote address. I ask us to sit quietly and listen, and to participate actively at the end of the session. I understand we have just about 40 minutes, so I won't take much more of your time. It is my honor and privilege to welcome Her Ladyship, the Honorable the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. And I was privileged to meet her in Abuja not too long ago. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Justices and Magistrates herein present. Your Ladyship Mariama Owusu, Justice of the Supreme Court and President of the Local Organizing Committee for this conference, may I humbly stand on all protocols already established this morning. Let me express my heartfelt gratitude to the International Association of Women Judges for the honor of inviting me to deliver the keynote address on the theme, Combating Negative Cultural Practices, the Role of Women Judges, that has been chosen for this 18th regional conference here in Accra. Associations such as Iawj are crucial to the success of our work as judges, because they supply the motivation, encouragement, and flow of exchanges of ideas and experiences that help all jurisdictions to absorb best practices developed around the world. I trust that this conference will provide opportunities for inspiration, elucidation, and strengthening of concepts that will enable us to return to our work with new energy new passion, and new ideas to strengthen justice delivery in all of our jurisdictions after the conference. I wish to begin my address this morning with an extract from a feature article published in September 2022 in Graphic Online, which is the online portal of the Daily Graphic newspaper, the most widely read news daily in Ghana. The article was titled, quote, "A Day in the Life of Kayaye, The Struggles, Misery of Bintu and Ramatu," unquote. It tells a sorry story about the daily travail of two head porters in the heart of Ghana's capital city, Accra. Bintu is a 38-year-old who is a native of Savelugu in the northern region, and she had been in the head porter Kayaye business for over 2 decades when this article was written. She escaped from forced marriage and got to Accra in 2001 and entered this business for her livelihood. And Bintu continued to break her back with heavier loads to fend for her children. According to the president of the Kayaye Youth Association, Mohammed Osman, about 35,000 Kayaye operate in 5 commercial cities in the country: Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Techiman, and Ho. Their ages range from 10 to 40. Many of them have fled from forced marriages and poverty, and they move into cities for the social anonymity that protects them from exploitation, as well as the opportunity for jobs and better living standards. The life of the Kayayo is often expressed in the sight of a young woman with baby strapped to her back, who goes through daily drudgery for uncertain reward. From dawn to dusk, these young women scavenge markets and other business enclaves to cart heavy loads. At the end of each day, Bintu is completely drained. In her own words, quote, "As I stand now, my knees and waist ache badly. I have to buy painkillers at the end of every day so that I can work the following day," unquote. Unlike earlier years when Bintu started her work as a Kayayo, she said she could now, at the time of the article, make barely 30 Ghana cedis a day because the Kayaye numbers had increased, forcing every one of them to take lower tokens for their service. As the proceeds from Kayaye business continued to dwindle, Bintu had to also grapple with accommodation challenges. Quote, she says, "I live in the old Fadama slum. We were 10 in a room, but 4 left, so we are now 6. We all pay 10 Ghana cedis every week. It is difficult to pay this rent because of other expenses," she said. Another head porter, Ramatu, 17, is a graduate of Nyankpala Islamic Junior High School in Tamale. And she said she could not continue to further her education because her father would not provide for her. Quote, she said, "I arrived in Accra 6 months ago to engage in Kayaye so that I can raise some money to buy a sewing machine and other stuff required for a passing out ceremony for a career," she said. Ramatu purchased with 7 others in a wooden structure along the Kole Lagoon at Old Fadama. She says also that we pay 10 Ghana cedis a week. Anytime you do not pay the rent, you are ejected, so you sleep outside, she said. The story of Bintu and Ramatu, while situated in Accra, opens a window into the vortex of the effect of many negative cultural practices which are prevalent across the face of our continent, which undermine quality of life and cause irreparable harm to the weak and vulnerable in our societies, particularly women and the girl child. Workplace exploitation, child marriages, domestic violence, stereotyping of women, which leads to women carrying a larger burden at home, even when they work full-time. The KIA, forced migration, and all of these are examples of the kind of burden that women carry in these cultural practices. Add virginity testing, female genital mutilation, domestic and gender-based violence, workplace exploitation, widowhood rights, widow inheritance, persecution of people living with disabilities. The list is endless. Hardly any African country is spared the scourge of unwholesome practices that have assailed our societies for centuries and continue to be widespread and prevalent into the 21st century. In Ghana, the 2010 Demographic and Health Survey report stated that 36.6% of women had experienced physical violence by the age of 15. About 1 in 4 Ghanaian women have suffered physical and/or sexual violence by an intimate partner. A UN report on women in 2022 gives this figure. The Ghana Police Service reported 16,000 cases of domestic violence in 2020. Almost certainly an underestimate of the problem, as many cases of gender-based violence go unreported by victims who distrust the legal system or fear stigmatization or retribution. Indeed, police and scholars agree that the true extent of gender-based violence is unknown because many attacks on girls and women are never reported. Reasons include fear of the attacker, fear of a negative response by others, perceived stigma for families, or the belief that authorities simply will not take the case seriously. Similarly, female genital mutilation, FGM, which is defined by the WHO as a practice of cutting parts or complete removal of female external genitalia for cultural reasons, continues to be a practice in 28 African countries, representing more than half of the continent. Statistics show that each year, no fewer than 3 million women, girls, are circumcised. There are many long and short-term complications associated with the practice of FGM. Immediate complications include psychological trauma, hemorrhage, shock, very severe pain, impaired wound healing, increased exposure to bleeding, and transmittable infections such as HIV and hepatitis B. These being a direct result of applying the same knife to different victims during the procedure. Long-term complications include chronic infections of the genital tract, the reproductive tract, and then the urinary tract, difficulties during menstruation, and what should have been normal conjugal relations during marriage. Interestingly, studies on economic status show that women from families with economic power and women exposed to higher education are less likely to be subjected to the majority of these negative cultural practices that persist on the continent. Many of the named and unnamed cultural practices that affect the health and quality of life of women thrive strongest in poverty and illiteracy. So how can we, as women judges, contribute effectively to the need to combat negative cultural practices? Let me propose that we keep in mind the intricate linkages between all parts of human life. In Chapter 6 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution, these linkages are highlighted in the directive principles of state policy. Between Article 34 to Article 41, the principles for achieving the nation's political objectives, economic objectives, social objectives, educational objectives, cultural objectives, objectives of Ghana's international relations, and duties of citizens are set out with a kind of clarity that should assist every judge to weave the philosophies behind them into every judgment in order to achieve the type of society the Constitution caters for. Allow me to quote from Article 39(2) on cultural objectives, which is particularly germane to the discussions of this conference. Quote, "The state shall ensure that appropriate customary and cultural values are adapted and developed as an integral part of the growing needs of the society as a whole, and in particular, that traditional practices which are injurious to the health and well-being of the person are abolished," unquote. These principles should help guide decisions in the soft places that hard law has not spoken. Second, it is also clear that the stronger the protection of human rights is within a community, the more attractive it is as an investment destination. The more assertive in efficiency, integrity, and transparency that a justice delivery system is, the more attractive that state or that nation is as an investment destination for citizens, foreigners, and every vehicle of business creation. Judges, therefore, are in prime place to apply the law in a manner that sends a signal of abhorrence of every form of exploitation, including the promotion of human rights and protection of women from harmful cultural and traditional practices. By virtue of the unique position we hold in our society, judges exert influence that will always be a force for good. The nature of the judicial career provides knowledge of the sociocultural topography of the national environment and the communities in which we work, which is useful raw material for contributing thought to other policy makers. The judicial service is able to minimize re-traumatization of child victims and witnesses that can occur during the quest to seek justice. It is also able to eliminate the questioning of children in inappropriate conditions. Other added benefits have been the strengthening of relevant stakeholders to handle children and investigations, more efficient court processes in gender-based cases, and the speedy and confidential resolution of sexual crimes against children. Ultimately, these courts help to protect children against miscreants who will now know that the system is better prepared to deal with their acts. Another way in which women judges can combat harmful cultural practices is the mentoring of women and girls. I began my address with a depressing story of Bintu and Ramatu. I conclude on a happy note with the story of Salah Abudu. In her own words, quote, "I was once a head porter, popularly referred to as Kayayi. I came to Accra from Tamale in the northern region every vacation to engage in Kayayi business while in my first year of junior high school. I dropped out of school during the second year of senior high school because I could not endure the stress any longer. So I fully joined the Kayayi business until I was introduced to the Chief Justice Mentoring Program by Purium African Youth Platform. It gave me hope and really empowered me to go back to school. And UNFPA and PDP has been supportive ever since," unquote. The Chief Justice's Mentoring Program in Ghana, which Salah Abudu referred to, was introduced in 2008 by former Lady Chief Justice, Justice Georgina Theodore Wood, the first woman Chief Justice after a long period spanning more than 150 years of Chief Justices in Ghana. It was designed as an educational program of the Judicial Service for students in second cycles institutions to familiarize themselves with the work of the judiciary in Ghana. It serves as a platform for participating students to interact with members of the bench and bar, and to demystify the legal profession and to encourage students to consider future careers in the legal profession. With the support of the UNFPA, the program was expanded in 2016 to include Kayai, who had dropped out of school but still had the ambition of furthering their education. Salah Abudu was one of such beneficiaries of the mentoring program. Today, she's studying for a BSc in nursing and midwifery. I don't know why I've come to tears, because I know the story, but somehow it has moved me today. It has moved me extraordinarily. She's studying for a BSc in nursing and midwifery at the University of Ghana. She is joined in this happy effect of the Chief Justice's mentoring program by another mentee who is at the Accra Technical University. Since I assumed office in June last year, we have further deepened the mentoring program and now have established justice clubs in senior high schools, the first two of which I inaugurated a couple of weeks ago. The goal is to create a dedicated core of students in senior high schools who have been mentored and equipped with knowledge about their rights and responsibilities, and who can pass on this knowledge to their colleagues and thereby raise the consciousness of young adults in second cycle institutions regarding the concept of rights, entitlements, and obligations, which make for a strong regime in the rule of law. Every justice club is mentored by judges, magistrates, and lawyers. My dear colleagues, it is the stories of the Salah Abudus that should give us hope that together we can win the fight against obnoxious cultural practices in our continent, however long it takes. May the Lord bless us all as we endeavor to make justice flow down like a river and righteousness like a never-ending stream. Thank you very much and welcome to Ghana.
Distinguished delegates, please give another round of applause for her ladyship. You will agree with me that when I read her ladyship's bio at the beginning, it was clear that the foundation had been laid many, many years ago. And we have seen the results in the excellent paper that has been presented this afternoon. Thank you very much, Your Ladyship. Her Ladyship started with a sad story of the Kayai and those who have been forced into certain types of labor, having escaped from forced marriages and other situations, and the fact that they have been exploited, they may find it difficult to make ends meet. And her ladyship referred to some provisions of the Constitution of Ghana and used an expression which I found quite interesting. Her ladyship said, in interpreting laws, we should use the soft places that hard law has not addressed. That if we look in our laws, in our constitutions and other laws that guide us, there are aspects that we can make use of, even where the hard law doesn't specifically provide in our interpretation of these laws. Her ladyship also gave us various statistics of just a minute. Sorry. Yes, she gave us various statistics of women who are suffered from many of these aspects. And she has also given us suggestions, recommendations on what we can do as women judges. Her ladyship said we should let our numbers and voices count for something. And that is very important, that while we celebrate the fact that more and more women are being appointed to the bench, we have to make those appointments count for something. Her ladyship has also told us of a lot of things that are being done in Ghana here that we can take a cue from. And I think one that is quite close to my heart will be the mentoring. Because I find that as women judges, we are role models in the society. And if we take on the role of mentoring women who are coming up, it gives them hope. It gives them an idea of what is possible when they see us using our positions to encourage them. And her ladyship ended with a very encouraging story of those who are now pursuing degrees based on their benefit from the mentoring programs. So I want to thank her ladyship again for this very illuminating paper. It's not really my style to go into too much detail about the paper, so that we have time to interact, share experiences, ask questions if we have questions that we want to ask. So please, once again, can we show our appreciation for her ladyship? Thank you very much. So let me confer to know how long we have. So we have just 10 minutes. So can we have either comments, question, or contribution? If you want to share what your own judiciary is doing in some of these areas. We've talked about so many areas: female gender mutilation, domestic violence, physical violence, so many things. And then our ladyship also talked about child-friendly, gender-based family courts. If any of us have those in our jurisdictions, we can share, because that is the purpose of this engagement, is for us to share ideas. Most of the problems are similar, but it's to share ideas of how we are tackling them as judges. Any question, contribution? Whenever there are no questions, it means the paper has covered the field. All right, now I see some hands. Yes, please. From Kenya, and then from Côte d'Ivoire. Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Justice Manisha Sharif from Kenya. Before I make any comment, I would suggest that we all stand up and we just stretch, because I think most of us are dozing. Kindly. Kindly.
Let's stretch. Shake out our limbs a bit. Yes. I think a ladyship must have a very soothing voice. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for obliging. Yes, in Kenya, we have a specialized court that deals with gender-based violence offenses. And it was initially rolled out in one station, but presently it's being rolled out throughout the country. And it appears we are taking cue from Ghana, because moving forward, it's been suggested that that court should be child-friendly and to comply with what Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, has just said. So we are taking cue, and we will go back and hopefully we'll make the suggestion that we've learned from the Chief Justice to our employers and the judiciary at large. Basically, that is it from the Kenyan side.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from Côte d'Ivoire?
Bonjour, je suis Madame Kofi Marie Chantal de la Côte d'Ivoire. Nous avons en Côte d'Ivoire des tribunaux pour enfants dans toutes les juridictions du pays. Et nous avons également, depuis 4 ou 5 ans, des services de protection judiciaire pour enfants qui sont déployés dans toutes les juridictions. Et ces services ont pour but d'assurer la protection des enfants victimes, des enfants auteurs d'infractions et des enfants témoins d'infractions. Il y a même eu une réforme du Code de procédure pénale qui permet de prendre en charge donc, ces enfants victimes et témoins. Nous avons également, avec l'appui des partenaires au développement, un système d'accès à la justice dédié spécialement aux mineurs. Ensuite, l'Association des femmes magistrats de Côte d'Ivoire, avec l'aide d'un partenaire américain, a essayé de faire du mentorat pour permettre aux étudiantes en droit de s'orienter vers les carrières judiciaires. Et on a eu donc des remises de prix à la fin de l'année aux meilleures étudiantes en droit pour les encourager donc à s'inscrire donc dans les filières judiciaires, spécialement de la magistrature. Nous prenons bonne note de l'exemple du Ghana également, qui est un bon exemple que nous allons essayer de développer dans notre pays. Merci.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Even though I didn't hear most of it. Yeah, any other contribution?
Thank you, my Lord Chair.
Thank you.
And through you, I would like to express our gratitude to the Honorable the Chief Justice of Ghana for that extremely elucidating
Can you tell us your country?
My name is Catherine Bamgemerere, and I'm a guest of the Supreme Court of Uganda. I wanted to make contribution to 3 issues. One, I wanted to say that in Uganda, we have, as women judges, have played a big role in getting the judiciary to accept child-friendly rooms within our courts. And we have a family and children's court, which law was passed with the help of women judges when we actually had the president of the Association of Women Judges, the late Lady Justice Letitia Chikoyogo. And as a result of the family and children courts having child-friendly courts, this has grown to the High Court and now to the Supreme Court and even to the Court of Appeal. So recently there was a brand new build, 2 brand new towers built for the judiciary in Uganda. I think they may be some of the best in Africa, and they have child-friendly rooms. And even for the staff, so the staff can breastfeed and do all kinds of things with the children. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the fact that, again, in Uganda, the women judges were the first to actually have a draft of the Domestic Violence Act. It was actually started by the women judges, and now we have an act. And although the execution is complicated, but at least the judges, we've gone a long way in making GBV a big issue, and we have special sessions right from the magistrates' court to the High Court, and now they're coming on appeal.
Thank you very much.
The final one I wanted to say, and this one, because I think it's a new area, is the issue of how women judges can participate with other partners in helping the women to become economically independent. Because if we women judges, we have a strong voice. If we can speak and partner with others, we can help the sisters that the Lady Chief Justice was talking about. The Mamamboga, we call them in East Africa, the ones who sell vegetables. If we can get them to be economically independent, then they can fight for themselves, they can fight against domestic violence, they can fight against FGM, they can fight and liberate themselves against many of these ills. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will take just one more contribution. Anybody from this side? Yes, please.
My Lord, Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice of Ghana, let me just stand on the existing protocol. My name is Angela Otaloka, Justice of High Court of FCT, Abuja. Indeed, I so much appreciate the paper my Lord had just delivered, and I would take it from the angle that I was once a victim, in the sense that I was a widow who had suffered the practices of widowhood in a state, or rather in Nigeria, particularly the southern state, the eastern state of Nigeria. That is where the practices are really terrible. And in the years of 1980, 1981, 82 to 1990, it was really horrible. But the courts have actually made some good improvement in the laws, in judgments that have been passed. When I became a widow, that was about 40 years ago. Yes, my daughter was just 2 weeks old, the last of them. My husband was a magistrate. It doesn't matter whether you're educated there. The family was well educated and they had a little bit of money. But that custom was something that they could not let go. And it happened that I was so little. I married too early, immediately after my school set. So I had not gone to any university. But my husband was insisting he must go to university, because I know where I came from if anything happens to me. And he became a Nostradamus. When he died, everything turned around. There was terrible widowhood malpractices, to the extent that the children were taken away from me, including the one that was 2 weeks old. And yes, and my sister-in-law said, come with me, just breastfeed her for a few months, then you can go and join your people. So indeed what happened was that I decided not to go, but I went to the university. My classmates are here, and they can bear me testimony. I now began to study law. So thank you. What I'm saying is that the most important thing we can do for a widow is to, if it's a young widow, is to encourage that widow to go back to school. So I was very much armed. I was science inclined, but my husband turned me to become a lawyer, because he made sure that I read economics and literature and added to what I had. I now went to read law. And indeed, when I came out, the battle, even up till today, the battle is still on. Yes. So if I was not encouraged to read, I would have been somewhere else. So when I now came out to be a lawyer, honestly, I took them to court for 18 years. We were in court. And eventually, the property was shared, but they're still fighting and fighting. However, I joined FIDA, and we made a great impact, particularly in Enugu State and Anambra State. We were going around training these widows, giving them courage. What they need is encouragement and education. So when I became a magistrate and became a judge, each time I go home, I gather them, encourage them, and find out areas that you can help them. If they need to consult FIDA members, if they need to consult any particular lawyer to help them out of one situation or the other. Like every one of us here, we have villages we belong to. So don't ignore them. Don't say, I don't have anything to do with these local women. Because one day, if you don't go, your husband might go. and the same problem might come back to you. So today, indeed, I have a group of widows in the village and even beyond who always look up to me. When they come, you see they have a lot of problems. You encourage them. Even the ones the children are not going to school, they want to send out to somewhere. You advise them as to what to do. Never mind that the judiciary has passed a law that a girl should inherit the property of the father. It is not practiced. They are still doing what they are doing. I will not take much of the time of this organization, but I just want to say that we as individuals, we need to do more work in our villages than what we are doing in the judiciary, because it's only when they bring the case to you, and many of them are afraid to go to court. Yes. Just as I was not afraid. In fact, at the stage, they nearly ostracized me. I said, I don't care. But now, today, we are friends because they've seen that from you, many of them have gotten some light.
Thank you so much, my Lord. And thank you very much, my Lord. With that contribution, I think the moral of that story is that charity begins at home. Let us be the change that we want to see in the world around us. It starts with each and every one of us doing our own little bit. The other topics that are coming up in the conference will give us more opportunity to exchange more ideas. And all right, I'm told there's one hand up. All right, so we'll take that as the last one. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Merci au Bénin. Je m'appelle Marie-Gisèle Zimpé, magistrat du Bénin. Et je voudrais remercier et féliciter la chef juge de la Cour suprême pour l'expérience partagée avec tous les participants. En ce qui concerne le Bénin, je voudrais dire que le cadre juridique et institutionnel a été renforcé. Au niveau des lois, en 2021, le Bénin a légiféré pour criminaliser certaines infractions commises à raison du sexe. Il s'agit du mariage forcé, du mariage précoce. Et désormais, toutes ces infractions sont de la compétence d'une cour spéciale qui est appelée la CRIET, Cour de répression des infractions économiques et du terrorisme. Cette loi interdit également toute relation entre apprenants et entre professeurs et apprenants. Et ceux-ci sont désormais justiciables de la Cour de répression des infractions économiques et du terrorisme. Cette loi a également créé l'Institut national des femmes. Cet institut est présent dans les communautés à travers ces points focaux. Ces points focaux qui font de la sensibilisation et encouragent les dénonciations. Au niveau des juridictions, les tribunaux pour enfants existent. Et il y a même des cours d'assises spéciales pour les enfants. Le code de procédure pénale également a été revisité en ce sens. Le code de l'enfant également a été adopté. Au niveau des femmes juges du Bénin, lorsque la loi spéciale de 2021 a été promulguée, les femmes juges ont organisé une activité avec les avocats et la Commission béninoise des droits de l'homme et autres acteurs pertinents pour s'approprier les dispositions pertinentes de cette loi et encourager la mise en œuvre de la dite loi dans les juridictions. Et voilà à peu près ce que je pourrais dire pour ce que le Bénin a fait. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for all the very encouraging stories. And I think we cannot end without also showing our appreciation to the IAWJ for making this type of fora possible and for allowing us over the years to exchange ideas which we have now put into action in many of our judiciaries across the continent. So IAWJ, we are also grateful for this forum. So thank you very much. Once again, your ladyship, your ladyships, and delegates, I bring this particular session to a close and look forward to other fruitful deliberation after we've had a sumptuous lunch. Thank you very much.
Please let's give a better round of applause to the moderator and her ladyship, the Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you. Before we bring this session to a close, may I respectfully ask all of us to stand and observe a minute's silence for the founder of IAWJ who just passed away, Arlene Pact. If we can just observe a minute's silence. May her soul rest in perfect peace.
Two speakers from Kenya. And the moderator is from South Africa. Please come on the stage so that we can make some progress. Please put your hands together for her. Kenya, asante sana, asante sana, asante sana. Yes, we are waiting for one more speaker from Kenya and the moderator from South Africa, please. Moderator from South Africa. Yes, South Africa.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, Kenya is supposed to be moderated by South Africa, but I think there is a challenge. Our moderator is not yet here. I'm told there was a problem with the travel for the South Africa delegate who is supposed to be moderating. But that will not deter us from continuing. So we are going to proceed with my colleague from Kenya. We have agreed that I will introduce her and then she'll introduce me. But if there is anybody who would like to introduce us, we'll be glad still. But we'll take it in our strides and thank you.
This is the role of the executive director. We pitch in when we need to. So I just want to make sure. So I'm very excited, I'm personally very excited to listen to these two esteemed lady justices who are coming to speak with us. The first will be presented by Lady Justice Rosalind Courier. I apologize in advance if I butcher people's names, who is the High Court, who is a judge on the High Court of Kenya. And she's going to be talking about tools available to women judges in curbing harmful cultural practices against women. And please welcome Lady Justice Rosalind.
Honorable Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, I wish to stand on the protocols already laid down this morning, and so let me just say good afternoon. I know we will be standing between you and lunch, but please just honor us with a few minutes of your attention. As we stand as Kenya, we bring greetings from our Chief Justice, whom we are still celebrating because she's the first one. We realized this morning in Ghana, I think you are doing number 3, so you're doing better than us. But we will catch up with you. Kenya is a country of world athletics, so we will overtake you in due course. Allow me to say something about myself and the work that I do, along with my colleagues from Kenya, whom I recognize. Can they give the Kenyan shout? Yes, this morning, you've seen the challenge that we have faced because I think of the technology and things like that. But what I'd like to say is that the topic that you see on your programs, which is something to do with cyber crime, is not the topic that was allocated to the Kenyan team. We were allocated the topic that picks directly from the address of the Honorable the Chief Justice that she has given this morning. So even as we sat there, we could see that her ladyship had already presented the paper. So we will try to avoid the repetition. I think what I will do is to step down the very, very good ideas that her lordship has already captured in the paper. So I'll move straight to the topic, which was tools available to women judges in curbing harmful cultural practices against women. In the paper that I prepared, and I would want to encourage each one of us to get a copy of that paper. I hope the Secretariat will be circulating it. It is a very long paper because I started off by giving an overview of the policy and legal framework adopted by the international community in advancing the rights of women, and I have looked specifically at the conventions that directly address harmful cultural practices. I think for those of us who have worked in the human rights agenda, we know that there is a plethora of declarations of human rights conventions, of course the mother of them all being the CEDAW. We know there have been declarations in the UN General Assembly. We know that we go to the UN Status of Women every year, and more declarations and commitments are made. In Africa, we had the Nairobi conference, then we moved from Nairobi, went to Beijing, we went to Cairo, and all those conferences made very strong and powerful statements with respect to stamping out or eradicating harmful cultural practices in our country. I will not repeat the statistics which appear in my paper, but which was alluded to by the Honorable the Chief Justice on the numbers of women who are subjected to date to those practices. The Maputo Protocol is worth mentioning because it is the one that defines harmful cultural practices as all behavior, attitudes, practices that negatively affect the fundamental rights of women and girls, such as their right to life, health, dignity, education, and physical integrity. I think for those of us around the room who have worked on the women's rights agenda, we know that there was a time when we discussed women's rights aside from human rights. And the point was made that women's rights are human rights, and I think we made strides and moved forward. So negative or harmful cultural practices, in my opinion, refuse to die, or at a very best, die a very slow death. They persist despite concerted effort by the world community to bring them to a quick end. I dare say also that there's no quick end, because culture is deep-rooted, and so there can't be a quick end. The existence of those policies and all the human rights instruments, the declarations, and the legislation in our various countries, some of which Her Ladyship shared with us this morning. I think if we look back in our countries, all the delegates in this room today, at this moment, if we look back in our countries, we have lots and lots of legislation. Some countries are ahead of others, but some are behind others in the legislation. I had selected a number of practices just for purposes of discussion. FGM, which Her Ladyship has talked about, and I call with its twin, evil twin, child marriage. Early child marriage is an evil twin of FGM because it is the practice that takes girls away from their mothers, because that is the time which those girls, those young girls need their mothers, and they themselves are turned overnight into brides, wives, and mothers. And so I think for the judges, the women judges who deal with the children's courts, sometimes you're faced with a situation where you have a young lady who is being brought to you for neglecting a child. When you look at the lady herself, she's a child. What do? A child has been brought before you for neglecting another child. How do you treat them? Do you treat them as though they've broken the law, or do you quickly open a care and protection file for the offender herself, because she needs to be protected? The other practice is wife inheritance. For those of us who read the Bible, they are called levirate unions. They existed for both positive and negative purposes in the past. I think the question we should be asking now is whether they have outlived that purpose. So I will skip the policy and legislative framework, which unfortunately, I think the person moving my slides is not keeping up with me. Yes, we are at policy and legislative framework. I've talked about the conventions. I've talked about the regional instruments. Please move with me. Okay. Let me turn to our local legislation. I will speak about Kenya because that is what I know. In my detailed paper, I have enumerated the legislations in the other countries. I hope my sisters around the room, when you find that that law was amended, you will kindly let me know so that the paper is updated. So our constitution is there. Our Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act of 2012 is there, the Children's Act, the Penal Code, the Sexual Offences Act. Those are the laws that directly deal with harmful traditional practices. But we also have the mantra that we have in our Kenyan judiciary, which is the social transformation through access to justice. That is a vision that our current Chief Justice came up with, and it's founded on the need to expand the doors of justice. It's founded on the felt need to get people who are vulnerable and who would otherwise not access justice to have the doors of the courts open to them. So women and girls who are victims of the cultural practices are considered vulnerable, and therefore clear effort must be made to reach out to them. I think one of the participants there said they will not be able to come to court due to those vulnerabilities. So as a tool, the first tool that is available to us as justices at all levels is jurisprudence. I talk about progressive jurisprudence because it is what will influence actions and decisions moving forward. Law plays a critical role in not only affirming the human rights of women and girls, but also in bringing about a desired positive change. I think that was the message that was given to us even by His Excellency, the President, this morning. So in countries that already have laws, those laws may not be very useful if a purposive interpretation of the law is not undertaken. So that if that is done, the law will not only give legal redress to the parties before the court, but would also broadly affirm the rights of women and girls at the individual level, at the community, and at the national level. So what happens when we render one decision? It has an impact on the happenings around that issue. The International Association of Women Judges, Kenya chapter, which you saw during the photograph session, is really well represented. Can you give us a shout? Has developed a very broad strategic plan, and one of the strategic objectives in that plan is the development of relevant jurisprudence towards an end to support the development and strengthening of jurisprudence on women and children, to protect the principles of the rule of law and equality for all before the courts of law. It is the wish of the International Association of Women Judges Kenya chapter to strengthen jurisprudence on gender parity. And as I talk about that jurisprudence, we have a leading case in Kenya, which is the case of Kamau versus Attorney General and two others. You will look at the citation in the paper. In that case, a petitioner, who is a medical doctor, went to court, filed a petition pleading that there were certain sections of the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act contravened sections of the Constitution that gives persons access or rather the right to practice culture and right to make decisions. So what did the petition show? The petition showed the tensions that exist between policy, law, and culture. And the petitioner, a very educated person, a medical doctor, I have said, was saying that how come that men are allowed to practice male circumcision and women, and by women I don't mean the young girls below 18 who have no right to give any consent, but grown women, maybe lady justices. If a lady justice decided today that culture is so important to her that she wants to have that cut to complete the culture, what does the law say? Our Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act says you cannot have that right to consent. And the court in the petition held that when the Constitution had a general underlying value of freedom, that value of freedom was subject to justifiable limitation. And the court said that was one good limitation. The court also said that the Constitution and the law cannot allow a person to instruct or consent to have another person inflict harm on them, and the case was dismissed. In my paper, I have talked about other implementation of the law itself through the penal sanctions. So in Kenya, if you procure FGM, you're liable to 3 years imprisonment, a fine of 200,000. If you allow your home to be used as a place for people to get circumcised, you'll have the 3 years imprisonment. If you perform the operation yourself as a circumciser, you'll get 6 years imprisonment, and it can be either both fine and a prison term. And so faced with that law, our courts have done very well, and they have sent lots of women to prison for either allowing themselves to be cut or performing the cut themselves. We'll be returning to, I can hear mamas on that already. It means there are people who are not convinced that that should happen. Another tool, let's move to another tool. This one is less controversial. Judicial training and capacity building. Upskilling judges in the human rights framework and gender-responsive interpretation of the law is key. We have all gone to law schools, and the law school will teach you the law. However, if we do not have training in understanding human rights and to be able to make your interpretation or implementation of the law to be in accordance with the human rights framework, then we will not have done much. We have a Kenya Judiciary Academy, which has designed some relevant courses. The International Association of Women Judges Kenya chapter has contributed to those courses. And so I think we are right on course when it comes to training. We have trained on the Maputo Protocol, and we have trained on the other human rights instruments. That training needs to reach and cover all judges from the lowest court to the highest court. But beyond training, there's a felt need to make justice more accessible to women and girls. and I have talked about the activities that the women judges in Kenya has engaged in. Another tool is community outreach and sensitization. I think we heard from in one of the presentations earlier on that we can sit in our courtrooms, but how much impact will we make if we continue sitting in our courtrooms, just waiting for the matters that appear before us, dealing with those ones and moving on to the next file? So in the Kenya Women Judges Association Kenya chapter, we have placed a lot of premium on outreach. And we all know that outreach is you reaching out, really, getting out there to provide the legal knowledge, the service. And sensitization, which is the process of creating awareness. Women judges are a repository of legal knowledge, and in particular, knowledge of human rights for women and girls. They are therefore well positioned to impart that knowledge at the community level. In Kenya, we have, we started, I think, a couple of years ago, working through the court users committees. And the court users committee brings together all the court users, police, probation, prosecution, children departments, gender ministries, and all those. Those are people who work within that space. So the Kenya women judges undertook a program of training the CUCs. So you can imagine that when you train the CUCs, they go out there and there's a multiplier effect. And not only that, it means that the cases are processed more effectively and more efficiently, because then every stakeholder sitting in the CUC understands their role of protection of human rights better. And so the point that I wish to really make before it is asked from the floor is that women judges are very busy people. I know that even some of us have come to these conferences carrying laptops to continue writing judgments and so forth. And so it means that we don't have that luxury of time. We are very busy with the judicial work that is our primary mandate. So then what should we do? We should have stakeholder engagements, and we should collaborate more with the departments I mentioned earlier and with civil society, because we acknowledge that civil society has the competence, because it's the work they do on a daily basis, whether they are proposing reforms, whether they are actively on the streets protesting against certain violations, but they are moving the women's rights agenda forward. I'm coming to an end. I want to discuss the mentorship, which her leadership has dealt a lot with. Mentorship is a very critical tool. Many of us around the room today may be judges because they had a mentor that they admired up there. They saw this lady woman judge and they said, I want to be like her. And so women judges are influential in society and are perceived to be so, and rightfully so. A judicial seat is one with power donated by the people for the benefit of the people. Women judges are therefore well positioned to champion causes that empower girls and women to say no to harmful cultural practices. So they can do this also through mentorship programs. Within our association in Kenya, we go out to schools. Not everyone does that, but individual members or courts go out to schools. We also invite the school children to come to our courts and just see what we're doing, and that has an impact on them. So we have committed in the mentorship program, which is both inward looking and outward looking. Inward looking because we have senior judges of our association and of the bench who then can mentor the younger members of the association or the bench. And that is inwardly. The internal mentorship is aimed at creating leaders within our ranks and enabling and encouraging the younger members of our association to climb up the ladder. And as they climb up the ladder, they take on more responsibilities to mentor those below them. So on the outside, they go out and we reach out to women and girls. Show me the slide that has photographs, please. Yes, I was not just giving stories. That's reality. Right there, we have our President Emeritus. Just a moment. Go back. Yes, right there we have our President Emeritus. Can she stand up? We clap. We appreciate her. She's there mentoring young people. Right there we have our members from, I think, Central Kenya. Honorable Gitari, Lady Justice Gitari. She's there with her team. They have gone to a rescue center. Show me the next slide. This outreach. That was an activity in Kajiado County. Kajiado County is a place where the people who live there still practice FGM on a large scale. So the people you see there are our honorable magistrates, and they can see themselves, Honorable Nkwani, Honorable Jane Kamau, and why are they not standing to take the applause? And they were there, they went to the community and were discussing with the community the harmful effects of FGM and why they have to give those strict penalties. Please move on. You can see they are learning under the trees. You can see our members there. They were in a stakeholder engagement. And I think the other one was the celebration of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So the point that I am making is that we need to create time and we need to go out there. I know we have been educated in elitist schools, some of us. Some of us have gone to rural schools and may be able to identify more with the issues that are on the ground. But as a solid voice, a common voice of women judges, I think we can achieve a lot. I have looked at some case law, which I do not have a lot of time to look at it. What the case law is showing is this. The women who are circumcisers, or the women who marry off their daughters in early marriage, or the women who are not able to stand up for their children, are usually socio-economically disempowered. I think we had that earlier on. What the studies also show is that there are these women who offer themselves, and I have had an engagement with them. And I asked them, so why would you do that? And they say because life at home was unbearable. They are educated, yes, they are married, but amongst, in the culture of the community I currently serve, those women have a role to play when their young sons come of age to undergo the male circumcision rite of passage. And the community says, look here, you cannot do it. You cannot support your son because you are just a girl yourself. So what does a woman do? She goes in there and she gets the cut so as to find acceptability and to be able then to do the right thing for their son. So efficacious strategies for eradication of harmful circumstances must relook at the role of women, how the women are either coerced or are actively engaged in the pursuit of those cultural practices themselves. I call it the dichotomy of women. If I can have the slide. Excuse me. It is the last slide, the second last. Yes, there we are. Dichotomy of woman as a perpetrator and a woman as a victim of harmful cultural practices. Do these women actively pursue culture of their own volition? Is it voluntary? In Kenya, when a woman undergoes the cut knowing very well that they're going to be prosecuted, they will be sent to jail, and they will be fined 200,000 shillings, what is going on in that person's mind? For whose benefit are these harmful practices practiced? Do women submit voluntarily? And what options then are open to them when they find themselves in a cultural environment that promotes those practices? The data that I have looked at, and I have done research over the years. I did research the first time for my paper on, for a postgraduate diploma in women's law, University of Zimbabwe. I did the second thesis for my master's degree. And I think invariably, the data was showing that law alone, policy alone, cannot be the most efficacious way of dealing with harmful cultural practices. Yes, the law and policy passes a strong point, but making a lasting change on communities and societies needs more. It needs the outreach, it needs the sensitization, and it needs really an understanding of where these women are coming from. I think before I conclude, there was a story of that was given by the Honorable the Chief Justice. I want to say that there was a similar story back home in my home many years ago. My auntie was an educated woman, a school teacher, high school teacher, but she had to submit to the cut. She had grown up in a Christian family, and she got married in a Christian wedding, one of the first, because I was very young then. And 2 years into her marriage, she came back home and told our grandmother that she had received the cut. And she said, so why did you have to do it? She said, because every time we have a women's meeting, I am not allowed to speak. They say, let the women speak. Girls should keep quiet. If she goes to borrow something from the neighbor will not allow. When the women go to fetch firewood or water, she's ostracized. So that was her life. She chose, in quotes. She voluntarily, in quotes, submitted herself to the cut for acceptability. So then, as women judges, what can we do to empower women in those situations to be able to say no, and for the no to be an affirmative no? Someone around the room mentioned that, and I've also said it in my paper, that these are people who are rarely educated. We are witnessing a new phenomenon in Kenya, and not just in Kenya, from my research even in other countries, where FGM is now being medicalized. So educated families take their daughters to a medical officer. It is done quietly in a hospital environment. Nobody will get to know about it. So what are they doing? They are trying to defeat the law and policy. In conclusion, as I come to the conclusion, women judges have a critical role to play in curbing harmful cultural and traditional practices. It has been shown that they have been at the forefront in using and promoting relevant jurisprudence. They have deployed the law to great impact and have led in training their colleagues in jurisprudence of equality. And at this point, I want to acknowledge the International Association of Women Judges. I think some years back, there was this very rich program where judges and magistrates were being trained on jurisprudence of equality. I think today we are reaping the benefits of that training, and we need to do it again. So the women judges have deployed the law to great impact, and they have led in the training. They are called upon to do more. They have received more, and as the Bible says, if you have received more, please give more. More is demanded of us. It is my firm belief that women judges can do more by looking beyond the courtroom. They must step outside the courtroom for lasting impact. I thank you. You're here. Yes. To introduce her? I have entered my presentation. The other part of the presentation will be done by my sister from Kenya. Can I introduce her? Yeah, please. My sister is Judge Helen Wasilwa, a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, a judicial officer of 34 years. She rose through the ranks as a magistrate and was appointed a judge. She will tell us how we can combat negative cultural practices in the employment and labor sphere. Let's put our hands for her. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you very much, my sister, Justice Roslyn. And I want to stand on the protocols that have already been established this morning, and just say that I honor you all the judges, the magistrates, your worships. I'm glad to be able to speak at this conference this afternoon. My sister, as we decide on how Kenya will handle this topic, we agreed that she'll be able to talk about the tools that we use in combating harmful cultural practices in the sphere of culture, in terms of family values, in terms of the arena of the village, the community, and all that. But I agreed that I'll be able to talk about the way to combat the cultural practices, harmful ones, in the labor and the employment sector. Being a judge in that court, I want to say that there are issues that arise at work that really, if looked at from the way they started, will be able to help as women judges. And as I considered this topic, I looked at some of the areas that we could go into without repeating my sister, is to check some of the areas that we as judges and magistrates should be able to look at and be able to stand out. The traditional practices that have hitherto assigned roles to girls and to boys, right from our family setting, where your sons, they can do this, your daughters can do this, where the girls will be told, why are you not washing the dishes after dinner? And the girls are watching their PlayStation. That assignment of roles is one area that we should be able to look at as we continue to mentor. She has talked about mentorship, to mentor right from the beginning our children, to know that these roles can be done by everybody. And then we have those areas where we have discrimination at the workplace, which has envisaged that women are maybe incompetent in certain jobs. And many times you'll find that when this comes to traditionally, the works of building a house was assigned to a man. If a woman went to the rooftop, there is a book I read when I was in high school from Ghana. It was called The Concubine. Remember the Hioma? Her house was leaking. She could not climb up the roof to repair it, because traditionally that issue of repairing houses, which in the current format I can put is an engineering format, was assigned for men. And therefore you find that we have certain jobs that are really assigned to women and others to men: engineering, the military, CEOs of corporations. You think that many people think that those are jobs that are assigned to men, and the ladies are relegated to other jobs, secretarial duties, nursing duties, house helps, receptionists, maybe teachers. That dichotomy of separating the women and the female, they come up and follow us to the space where we are at such a time. And that's why for Ghana, we are just putting up for you that you have your third female Chief Justice. And as my sister said, we are running very fast. Very soon we'll overtake you. We already have the first one, the Honorable Chief Justice Martha Koome, and we are happy that we are in that space. And we also have the Deputy Chief Justice also, who is a lady, the Honorable Justice Philomena Mwilu. So we are running, and we'll catch up. So that dichotomy is something that we need to check. I'm just pointing out the pointers that we in our workplaces must look out for in order to help in curbing these harmful practices. And then the issue of upbringing, making women to feel inferior as compared to the boy child, and then in unconscious discrimination at the workplace. I heard this lady, she's a professor of law, and she was telling us that wherever she went to the I don't know what to call it, the place where they'll take their tea during break from the lecture rooms, the men lecturers always expected her to rise up and serve them with tea. Yeah, that was it. Until she told them, today I'm sitting down, can somebody bring me a cup of tea? So some of those things could be like, they are subtle, because the men are like, you are the lady in the house, can you make us tea? Can you serve us? Those areas. And then duties at work which hinder women performing their duties. And I'll be talking about, in brief, we have the law, we have the international law, we have the regional laws, as been discussed even by the Honorable Chief Justice and even my sister. And we have even the national legislation that also points out some of those areas that we really need to check out and be able to say no to those harmful cultural practices. And from there, let me get into the arena of labor and employment. And I want to encourage us to really get to know these conventions that exist in the labor sphere. And ILO is actually the place to start, the International Labour Organization, which has set up quite a number of conventions that will be able to help us in deciding that this is wrong and this is not right. And I'm bringing out this tool on the international law so that it can be of assistance to us as women judges. So one of the conventions that the ILO has formulated is the Discrimination Employment Occupation Convention, 1958, is Convention number 111. It provides that member states are to declare and pursue proactively a national policy to promote equality of opportunity and treatment in respect of employment and occupation with a view of eliminating discrimination. The prohibited grounds of discrimination enumerated include sex, as well as race, color, religion, political opinion, national extraction, and social origin. So this one, I'm sure many nations have domesticated. Then we have Equal Remuneration Convention, Convention number 100, which specifically addresses the issue of equal remuneration for men and women for work of equal value. I don't know whether that really is still existing, where women are paid less and women more and men more. But I'll give you an example of what our first judge, Justice Effie, the first judge in Kenya, told us at one point. And this is true because even when I was employed as a magistrate in 1990, I was not getting a house allowance because it is expected that my husband should house me. That is what was happening. Because traditionally, who builds the house is the man. Who houses the wife? The man. That was the practice. But we thank God that as we have moved along, these practices are seeding ground. But you'll find that sometimes they rear their heads out. And many times we come to get them peeping out when we do case law. Like where a woman is going for maternity leave and the employer decides maternity leave is not an issue. You must be working. And if you are on maternity leave, then you are not going to be paid. It happens. And we have had case law in that direction. So there is the law on equal remuneration for equal work that has been done. Maternity Protection Convention, Convention number 191, it provides that women shall be provided with the right to one or more daily breaks or a daily reduction of hours to breastfeed their child. And it applies to all employed women. And it provides that maternity leave will be up to 14 weeks at Article 4. So the woman is guaranteed a right to return to the same position after maternity leave. But have you come across a case where the woman comes back from maternity leave, or when she's on maternity leave, she is told that your position has been declared redundant or we no longer need your service? This happens. So in such a case, the women must be able to stand out and say, no, it cannot go on. And then the issue of, the last convention I'll cite, Workers with Family Responsibility Convention. This is convention number 156, and it has a recommendation 165. This convention applies to both men and women with responsibilities in relation to their dependent children, where such responsibilities restrict their possibilities for preparing or entering and participating in or advancing in economic activity. So the convention actually is trying to say that family responsibility should not be a deterrent from you progressing at work. You cannot be denied a promotion because of family responsibilities. And I'll give an example of this case law where the employer provided that people should get a particular study time and advance in a particular certificate in order to get promoted. This this training was being offered in the evening between 5:30 and 7 every evening. After work, you are required to remain behind so that you can now go to study this certificate. And this particular woman said that between 5:30 and 7, that's the time I should be going back to my children. I need to go and make sure that they came from school. I need to prepare a meal for them, see their homework. And she went to court and said that that particular provision that this training will be done compulsorily for you to be promoted was discriminatory to her and against this convention, Workers with Family Responsibilities Convention. And I'm glad that the court agreed with her and asked the employer to provide an alternative mode or provide a training which will not interfere with her responsibility as a woman. And the latest of the convention is Convention 190, Violence and Harassment Convention. This is a convention of 2019, which maybe in quotes we can say is the convention on gender-based violence or sexual violence at the workplace, sexual harassment. It covers such such areas. And it is our duty as women judges and magistrates and their worships, as they are called in this jurisdiction, to get to know this law, to get equipped so that we can be able to help in the society. Let me quote this case, George Opio and two others versus the Deputy County Commissioner Game and another. In this case, the petitioner George Opio, George Onyango, and George Okinyo challenged the constitutionality of the appointment of the second respondent, Pauline Amondi, as an assistant chief of Ulamba sublocation by the first respondent. And their main problem about supporting this, saying this woman is not qualified as an assistant chief, was because she is a woman. And the first respondent, throughout the appointing process of the second respondent as the assistant chief, did not consult and cooperate with the people of Ulamba, and this denied them the right to access public service. As such, the right to security of the person as enshrined in the Constitution had been violated by the first respondent by appointing someone who was not principality qualified. That's what they decided. The first respondent violated the principle of supremacy of the Constitution, and the court allowed her to be the assistant chief. And I remember one case in particular where, and this one happened to be my sister-in-law, where she was married. She was actually being also appointed as an assistant chief, and the commissioner, the county commissioner then, was supposed to write a letter to the Minister for Interior to say that we have selected this one as the assistant chief. But the letter was not forthcoming. So when I asked her what is happening at the grassroots, she told me, they are saying that I don't belong to this clan. I said, but you are married in this clan. They don't expect you to go back to your mother's home to be an assistant chief. You are qualified. And then they say, but you know, they're also saying that my husband is not a good man. They say, that is your husband. This is not you. This is not you. It is your husband. You are a good person. You have the qualifications. And I remember standing out for her at that particular time in the 1990s, and she became an assistant chief at that particular time. So what I'm saying is that the law is available. The law is available for us as women. There is a lot of case law and a lot of things that we can use to help the women. Let me cite this one, which is appalling. It happened actually this week. School head quits to save her marriage. It was in the newspaper of Kenya last week, and one of my colleagues pointed it out. This is what it says. A high school principal offered to step down from her position to save her marriage. The principal's husband had reportedly asked her to choose between her family and job as head teacher. He argued that the school where her wife worked in Marakwet East was too remote and distant, frustrating their efforts to stay together. She was told by the husband to choose between him and her job. The area district officer Gabriel Ogano said, in the letter to the Teachers Service Commission, the woman who was the principal of Marakwet East Sub-County requested to be relieved of her role as head teacher due to family concerns. And after that, she was actually transferred and relieved of the headship position. She now became a classroom teacher. This is one case that I think, because my sister Rosalind is a neighbor to that county, we'll have to take up and find out why can't she be relocated near her husband or her family, but retain the headship. Yeah, she should be allowed to retain the headship position. So what I'm alluding to is the fact that as women judges, there are many things that we can do, but it starts by us knowing the tools that are available to us in terms of the law, in terms of opportunities. And as I come to conclude, because I was told my sister had taken 3/4 of the time and I was remaining with a quarter. As I come to conclude, I want to raise out the following. I want to give this suggestion as some of the tools that we may be able to look out to in helping to curb these harmful practices at the workplace. Number one, the work arrangements. I want to get proud of my country, Kenya, and say that the digital platform has really helped. A lot of work is being done online, and you can do your work, the work where now with the digital space, there is a lot of work from away from the office. You can do it. By the way, when I was sitting there before I came up front, I was quarreling with somebody and saying, can you imagine there's this system that does not know that I'm in Ghana, and there's a certificate of urgency that has just been allocated to me. The certificate was supposed to be done by me, but I talked to my presiding judge and I told him I'm out of the country and I don't want to be accused of doing work or grabbing work to do when I'm out of the country. So please, can you check this file and ask the system or whoever is manning it to reroute it back to somebody else to handle. So the space is there. We need to apply it, and I'll encourage other nations to copy. The flexible working conditions are also important. We have talked about rest, giving time for women to go and breastfeed, to take care of their babies. It is a space that we must do. In the Human Resource Manual of the Judiciary of Kenya, we have that provision of allowing the breastfeeding mothers some space. They leave work maybe an hour earlier so that they are not caught in the normal traffic, and they may be allowed to come in late a bit so that they can be able to work unhindered as they take care of their children. Those flexible working conditions are very important. The other issue is the issue of training and career growth support. There are many ladies who could not be here. I'm sure their babies are somewhere, and they couldn't carry their babies to Ghana. Do you have some? Maybe the judges now, they have said there, but I'm waiting to see a judge who is on maternity leave. I'm waiting to see that. But I'm talking about our younger sisters in the magistracy. They like to go for training. They like to go for conferences. Can there be support from the employer where they can be allowed to carry their babies and go for training so that they are not left out? The issue of a safe and an inclusive environment for work where you don't feel harassed, where the male gender or the other gender is not harassing anybody, you feel safe and secure at the workplace. And of course, there is the work-life balance. It helps in mentoring, in equipping us to be able to help even the others who need that help. And of course, the most important that I'm seeing is the networking opportunities that we are doing today. We have heard from Ghana, the Honorable Chief Justice, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from the other nations. South Africa, you are supposed to be here introducing me, but I introduced myself. But I see you are here, and thank you for coming, even though you came late. So my sister had to introduce me in your absence. But we'll be hearing from others. This networking is very important, this is a tool that we can use to curb these practices. As we hear from one another, things will be able to happen, and we'll be able to grow together. Last but not least, sensitization of men in changing roles and sharing chores. I want to single out the only man that we brought from Kenya. Can we see the man in the house from Kenya? Thank you, my brother. We don't want to talk about these things in closed doors. We want them to hear. We want them to take the message back to the others that this is what the ladies are saying. They need your support. They need you to help them to be able to balance these cultural practices that are harmful. We don't want. We are giving him a message, go and take it to the other men. And we encourage the other association to recruit the male gender so that when we are coming to this conference, they can also come and listen and hear. And in that case, they'll be able to understand what we are talking about at the workplace. So there's so much, time is up, but I thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, distinguished guests, we don't have much time for questions and answers, but I did want to give a full bio of Lady Justice Rosalind before we moved on to our closing. So just very quickly, Lady Justice Rosalind Koror is a judge at the High Court of Kenya since 2011. She was admitted as an advocate of the High Court in 1991. Currently, she's the presiding judge of the High Court of Bomet, and previously she served in several court stations across Kenya and currently serves as a member of the executive committee of the Iawj Kenya chapter. So I just wanted to make sure I shared her fuller bio, as I wasn't able to do that earlier. And now I'll go ahead and turn it over for our closing.
Thank you very much. Give it up for our sisters from Kenya. Our sisters, we say Asante Sana. We are running behind time, so we'll bring this session to a close by calling Her Ladyship Justice Charity Labi, a retired Court of Appeal judge, to give us the closing prayer. Thank you.
Please bow down your heads and let us pray. Father God, what can we say at a time like this? Especially since beginning of day, you've been with us, you've guided us, you've given us the mental strength to follow the presentations since morning up to this afternoon, and we say we thank you. We thank you for the speakers who have presented erudite and impactful decisions as to what we can do as women judges in curbing some of these practices that are harmful to women in general, not only in Ghana, but in all the various countries that we come from. And we thank you, Father God, for the traveling mercies that you also gave to those delegates that came all over Africa and who are here today. We are breaking from this session, but not from your presence, O Lord. And that we pray that even as we go to lunch, you bless all the food, water, and the drinks that we'll take and sanctify them so that there will be a healing for us mentally, physically, and bodily. And that at the end of this afternoon session, you bring us back together again for the dinner. The glory is yours and the honor is yours. And we say, Father, we thank you for this and all other blessings you've given us this day. Thank you in Jesus' name for answered prayer. Amen.
Thank you, Justice Labi. It's time for lunch now, and then we reconvene for dinner this evening. Thank you so much. By the way, Asante in Swahili means thank you. Asante in Ghana means somebody's name or an empire. So Asante Sana means thank you very much.